Hello, welcome to the Brown Initiative for Discipleship and Evangelism. My name is Ethan Brown. This is BIDE. This video is being produced in connection to the partnership program of the Gordon-Conwell Theological Seminary, where I'm a student in the Doctor of Ministry program in Outreach and Discipleship. If you're already one of my partners, thank you very much. And if you'd like to learn more about the partnership program, I will post a link in the description below. In this video, I want to introduce you to two different ways of thinking about evangelism. And my purpose is to try and remove barriers to evangelism for both of these different ways. So I'm going to use a metaphor throughout the video, and I'm going to talk about cultivated plants versus wild plants, and use that as a metaphor for different kinds of evangelism. So if you will, think with me for just a moment about the process of cultivation. When you are going to be in an agricultural setting, like orchards or blueberry fields, for instance. We'll go with blueberries. So imagine, if you will, going to a blueberry farm. The plants have all been set out in a nice, even row with a path in between them. And the plants have been cared for. They have been fertilized and encouraged to produce their fruit. They've been protected from wild animals so that their fruit hasn't all been harvested by bears. They have been set up in such a way that it's pretty easy to get what you want from the plant. You are intentionally entering this place where things have intentionally been set up exactly for what you're doing. Now, you might also find blueberries a different way. When I was a kid, we used to go camping every year in Minnesota. And when we would go up into Minnesota, we'd go way up. I lived in Iowa, so it wasn't as far as it is for me now, but we'd go way up to very near to the boundary of Canada. And every once in a while, when you'd go for a walk out in the woods, you would come into a place where the woods opened up. Or maybe, if you were really lucky, you might find it right along the side of the path that you were walking on. You would find a blueberry bush. And when you did that, you received it as a gift. You weren't really looking for it. It wasn't your purpose to go out and go blueberry picking. Your purpose was to just go out into the woods and have a good time. But if you found that wild blueberry bush, you absolutely took advantage of it. Now, those are totally different experiences. They're the same kind of thing. You're encountering a blueberry either way. But the difference between a cultivated experience where it's planned, it's intentional, and you know what you're doing, you know what you're out for, and you know what you're going to get. That's one way. The wild experience is another. When you go for a hike in the woods, you're not guaranteed to come across a blueberry bush. You don't know that it's going to be there. You don't generally plan your hiking adventures, therefore, around the likelihood of running into blueberries. You just go out and go hiking. You don't plan to go on a hike when blueberries are in season because blueberries are in season. You plan to go out on a hike because you want to get out into the woods. And you want to see the woods. You want to experience the woods. But while you're there, if you happen to run across blueberries, great. Now, many of us are very smart, and so you've already run ahead of me in the metaphor, because I told you at the outset that I was doing a metaphor for evangelism. What I talked about in the last episode when we referred to discipleship and evangelism and how it fit into the name of this initiative, I suggested to you that what I think churches ought to do, what Christians ought to do, is be very intentional about their discipleship efforts in order to produce evangelism and evangelists. That the goal of discipleship is to create people who are fully mature in a way that is like Christ, so that they pour out of themselves and into others. They come to see their life as having a for the sake of others nature. Well, that might be compared in this analogy to a cultivated approach to evangelism. You are intentionally producing things. You're laying them out in such a way as to make the fruit you want easily accessible. The Cultivated is a church program or system or plan, something that is put in place that leads people to be intentional about relationship that focuses on Jesus. Discipleship growth tends to happen because two people get close to each other and close to Jesus. Their intentional relationship holds each other accountable and encourages them to, yes, I'm going to focus on Jesus because I'm with you. And I know you're depending on me to do it, and I'm depending on you to do it. So let's both do that. That's cultivated experiences. And it grows to the point where you've got something to say, hey, I have experience doing something that was really good for my life. Would you be willing to do this with me? And that's a cultivated discipleship, cultivated evangelism process. Inviting that person who's not currently in a discipling relationship into being a disciple of Jesus together with me. That's cultivated. That other way of running into blueberries is to run into them in the wild. In a cultivated setting, the blueberry bushes are all planted on purpose a certain distance apart. But in the wild, that's not true at all. You might run into 5 bushes together or just one. In a cultivated setting, a farmer has placed the bushes where they want them to be. But in the wild, no human person plants the blueberry bush at all. That bush may show up because an animal ate a blueberry and then its waste contained viable blueberry seeds. And that's how it got planted. It didn't get planted. It just got left behind after the animal was done with it. But that thing was planted by natural processes, not by human intent. Of course, in both settings, the presence of blueberries is entirely dependent on God. You don't get blueberries even in a farm unless the weather conditions are proper to produce them. And if the weather conditions and everything else that goes into the growth of the plant are appropriate, you get your blueberries. But no human farmer provides the weather. They don't provide the earth it grows in. That's given to them by God. They may cultivate it. They may do things on purpose to encourage it to be more effective. But ultimately, the plant's life or death is in the hand of its creator. But in the wild, that's even more obvious. That wild experience of the blueberry, that just was a gift from God. Well, to avoid the wilds is to avoid God's gift. It is to miss something that God is intentionally giving us. Let me tell you what the wilds look like. The other day, I had an appointment in a coffee shop. And when I finished my appointment in a coffee shop, I made an offhand comment as I was walking out with the person that I had come to see. He and I were both walking out of the coffee shop together. And this person who was in the coffee shop heard me say something. It made him laugh. And that person started talking to us. Well, the person I was with was leaving because they had to get to work. So they were like, hey, see you later, which left me with this other person who suddenly had struck up a conversation with me. And before I knew it, me and this other person had been talking for a couple of minutes. I was feeling some pressure to get on with my day, not because I had some sort of pressing appointment that I had to do next. I had other appointments, but they weren't for several hours. Yeah, I had the time. I was done here. I wanted to move on. I was ready to start my next thing. And it took me a while to realize that I was sitting here with a blueberry bush. This was a person who I didn't know. I didn't know this person at all. This is the first conversation I'd ever had with this person. And for all I know, it'll be the last. I hope not. I hope I run into him again. But I started talking to them, and before I knew it, I had shifted the conversation to ask about God. Where's God in your life? What's God doing with you? Do you know Jesus? Have you ever heard of him? What do you believe about him? And I realized that what I had here, I thought I didn't have another appointment for a while, but it turns out that this was my appointment. This was my assignment, that I had come upon something that I didn't anticipate and didn't expect, and was being given an opportunity to share the gospel. But if you will keep your eyes open for the moment that God gives you, then you will be practicing the sharing of the gospel with other people. The truth is, most people who come to faith, according to research, have heard the gospel at least 9 different times in 9 different settings. I am holding up 9 fingers. And generally, that's from 7 different people. 9 times, 7 people. So the people who come to faith don't generally, in this culture, hear the gospel just one and done. You probably won't seal the deal with a whole lot of people. You'll be one of those 7 people producing a conversation about the gospel in someone's life that is nudging them ever closer as Jesus works in their life to lead them to himself. That's a privilege. But if you will do that, then what that does to you is it will strengthen and encourage your understanding of the gospel, your knowledge of the gospel, and your commitment to the gospel. It makes that all stronger. And as that is made stronger, you're carrying that with you into the cultivated fields of your discipleship practices. When you are intentionally with other people who want to do this with you, because you've gone out into the wild and shared your faith in an unexpected place that you didn't plan, but it showed up for you and you did it. Well, that's going to make you kind of more excited about the work you're doing with your friends in discipleship. And as you're doing work with your friends in discipleship, as you think about, okay, I'm here for them, and I'm here to lead them to Jesus, and we are seeking Jesus together. As you're doing that, that in turn will strengthen your likelihood to open up your mouth when you're in the wilds. They are both gifts from God, but they are mutually reinforcing in the life of a person who actually wants to be someone who declares the gospel for Jesus, who wants to be an evangelist. If that's something you want to be, but you feel like, I don't know, look for the field. You want to be in a relationship with somebody where you're talking about the gospel regularly. The two of you are gospelizing and evangelizing each other. Or maybe you and 3 other people are evangelizing one another. Maybe you're the leader of the group. Maybe you're a participant in the group. But either way, you are evangelizing one another. That's one way of doing this. But as you do that, it will help you to have eyes to see it in the other sphere. And if you will take the step, if you pray at a time to be courageous, long before you see the bush, when you're out walking on the path, meaning you're living your life and going through your day, and you're asking God, please help me to see an opportunity to talk about Jesus with somebody. You'll be amazed how often the number of blueberry bushes along our path is way more than most of us have eyes to notice and see. And the amount of refreshment and enjoyment that's out there for us is huge. If only we have the willingness to cooperate with God in both of these spheres, then we will be stronger in each of them. And we do this all because God so loved the world that he sent Jesus. And Jesus sent us in the honor of Christ for the life of